Hey, and good morning to this post today. So I am responding to a question that Safeline for young people asked around working with sculpture and with young people, and what kind of creative exercises you might be able to start to do, either with yourself if you're listening and you're someone that wants to get involved in connecting with their creative process, or maybe even some exercises as maybe a school teacher, or if you are a therapist or counsellor and you're looking for ways to help someone to connect to embodying with their emotions a little bit more, then you could give these a go. So the exercise today is really simple. All we're going to be using is materials that we have at home. So they're at hand and you're likely to find them in your home or in a workplace quite easily. So we just need basically a load of paper and some kitchen foil, some newspaper, and if you have tracing paper, great, but if you don't, then things like baking parchment would work fine. So the first part of the exercise, and I'm going to provide a photograph of kind of the step-by-step of how to do this exercise, will be to just kind of begin with a warm-up. So if you're working one-to-one, then initially you kind of want to set up a little bit of connection at the beginning, so you're getting to know that person. Maybe you're already in an established relationship, which would be great. If not, then I would always recommend starting groups with a little bit of mindfulness practice. So you're just bringing the person or yourself into connection with your body. Now, we do this so that we can begin to regulate our nervous system, and the intervention that we will explore will be coming from a more regulated place in your body. So a way that we can do that is, I will often guide people just to, if they feel comfortable, to close their eyes and then just check in into their breath and slowing the breath down just a little bit. So as we breathe in through our noses, see if you can just make your back and shoulders a little bit more comfortable, breathing in through your nose. And then on the exhale, breathing out through your mouth, and it's as though you're blowing through a straw. So you're controlling the out breath, and you're breathing out for longer than you've breathed in for. So breathing in and out. Now what that does is it, after a few of those breaths, will engage the parasympathetic strand of your nervous system. And as we begin to slow some of the sympathetic arousal that happens in the body, we can then increase our capacity to remain present and actually be able to concentrate a little bit more. So using that mindful technique of breath work, grounding through your shoulders and back and into your feet, will be a great way to enhance this exercise, especially if you're guiding someone else or you're guiding yourself into working in a way that's maybe a bit new for you. So using sculpture, why might we use sculpture to support people to connect with their creativity? So sculpture is an incredibly expansive way of humans expressing themselves in constructive and deconstructive ways. So I think that's why it can be a really exciting way to use sculpture to reflect what's happening internally. So it acts as like a metaphor for the internal feelings, and that's what we're going to look at today. So the first part of the exercise would be to invite or to choose 5 emotional states that you would like someone to begin to explore just using the paper. So the 5 I've noted are joy, playful, anger, sad, anxious, and calm. So you could put aside, this is quite a quick exercise, so you're just using maybe a couple of minutes per exercise. You want to kind of get that person, or to get yourself out of the intellectualism and the thinking parts of the brain and to go into a more embodied state. So you're using your hands and your instinct to guide how you're going to sculpt with this paper. So if we start with joy. So if I take this piece of paper and allow myself to sculpt with it and connect with the feeling of joy, what might this paper look like? Now, some of the ways that you can sculpt with paper, you can tear, you can ball up, you can fold, you can scrunch and layer and do so many different things with it. So kind of don't have a sense of having any rules about what can be done with a piece of paper. You can make that up. So if I imagine the state of joy, I think what comes to mind is probably something very light and flight-based. So I think what comes to my mind is something like a bird. So I'm just taking this, I've got A3 paper here, but you could do this, and it'll probably be better with A4 because it will be a quicker study. So I'm just allowing my body to connect with paper and how it is to be folding and the tactility of using my hands. And so when I kind of look at it like this, just as a piece like this, and how you can see it, what I might make up about this is that it's kind of fanning out. And if I place it this way, I can imagine that this sensation might come up from my stomach through my chest, and that joy takes flight. So it's something that could maybe soar off and takes a flight somewhere. So you're just connecting with language and meaning making and encouraging that person to, how far would that fly? Ask these really curious questions about that sculpture and how it can gain movement. So how would the movement of joy become embodied in this sculpture? So we'll move on to the next one. So I'll just do a couple. So if we go to anger, so anger is one of those really powerful feelings that often can become quite suppressed and stuck in the body. So we want to support someone to grade how they're going to connect with that. We don't want to say, bring it all in right now, because it could be overwhelming for that person or for yourself. So you want to find a way to explore your feelings safely. So I'm going to invite inside myself, I'm going to invite maybe 50% of my anger into this exercise. So how do I want to allow my hands and my body to sculpt with this piece of paper this feeling of anger that I can connect to now? So instantly I notice my hands want to scrunch and really ball it up, and I could probably do that over and over again. So anger has a lot of energy to it. It's charged by sympathetic arousal in the nervous system. And anger is one of those feeling states that has an incredible amount of potential. When we can take anger away from maladaptive defense responses into constructive empowerment, this ball of energy can help you soar. So where do I feel this in my body? I think if I connect with anger and I feel this somewhere in my body, it's probably here near the top of my stomach, and it's quite sort of hard and stuck and sort of strong. So again, we're just connecting these feeling states with the body, and it's so simple. Just having this paper's quite fluid and tactile, and it's just really easy to work with. So that's the warm-up exercise. So what I would then invite a group to do, or an individual, is to take the elements of the feelings that they created. So on this example, I've shown you anger and the flighty joy that could sort of sail and fly somewhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge myself, or I'm challenging the group or individual to see if they can make a container now. This is the final piece of this sculpture exercise. How can we fit these feeling states within one space? Because somehow every day, this person or yourself manages to hold all of these feelings here inside your body and mind. And isn't that an incredible thing? So what could you use to create this container? Foil is another really fluid and sculptural material that you can just find in your kitchen drawer, as is newspaper, baking parchment, cardboard. So there's no limits on what you have to use for this container, but the challenge would be to connect with what kind of container is needed to hold all these different feelings. And to fit it in the container, you might notice, is anger the base? Do I have to fold some of my joy to fit inside the body? Would I like a little bit more room for joy to be able to expand? So it's a creative experiment in externalizing how I or you hold all these different feeling states inside our bodies. And through sculpture, we can externalize